All right, now we're cooking. Hello, testing 1 2. Okay, we're good. Everyone, we're talking about when the first movie. Okay, so on the 2-disc special, when does the first disc end? I always make them. I'm trying to figure this one out because I don't remember. They're always like deceptive. I think in the third one, I always thought it ended at a certain point, and it doesn't. There's like good parts where I think they should end, but they don't.
Yeah, it feels like they didn't time it for effect. Yeah. It was just like, here it is. Whenever it happens to be in the middle.
Here's a good end point. When does that happen in the second movie? I don't even remember the second movie. Anyway, we'll figure that out later.
It's been too long.
It's after Rivendell. But where? What's the section for after Rivendell? Are they walking out of Rivendell and that's like where it ends? As soon as they leave. Interesting. I don't know why I'm so fascinated by this.
I love how you're having a whole discussion.
It sounds like I'm talking to myself.
Yeah.
One of the first things I want to talk to you guys about is we talked about this last episode, but how do you guys like the amount of songs that are in this? Or poems or whatever they are?
I don't like them.
Oh, I was going to say I like this section of songs better. I think because they're longer and I felt like there was less of them.
Yeah.
I don't know. I felt like there was less.
That's because you're rapping them too, right?
Yeah, this is true.
Yeah. I would love for you to do an audiobook reading of you rapping the lyrics.
That would be so bad. No, I'm just saying them with a little bit of a beat in my head. But I think I like them when they're longer better because I feel like they're telling a story.
Yeah.
And like you're getting more history in these songs too.
Like there is a point I like that as well. I think I would like it more if I was reading it, but when I'm listening to it, there's a point where Andy Serkis is singing the songs, and then like I'll be doing something, and then all of a sudden I'm like, is he still singing this song?
Yeah, I know.
And then I'll look at my book and I'm like, this is like a 3-page long song.
Yeah.
This is crazy.
Well,
But
we
I don't
got the
mind them,
heads
but-
up though
Yeah.
last time, right? When you were flipping through, you're like,
Yeah.
whoa, there's a long one coming
Yeah.
up.
I like when the song is a clear part of the story. And before this, the songs felt thrown in there. Like
Tom.
JRR just wanted to write one.
Yeah.
He's like, oh, yeah, I got to
Yeah.
get this off my chest. But here it felt like they made sense. When
Yeah.
Frodo sang the song on the table, it worked. And when Sam sang the song, again, it was like, someone entertain us, I guess. Or
Yeah,
because
because they were asking for that.
So it made more sense
Yeah.
to me. I kind of liked it.
There's also a point, I don't know, maybe this is like a thing, something that I just never experienced. I don't know if I've ever experienced like you're going into a bar and like you walk into the bar because everyone's singing, because everyone seems happy. I don't think I've ever walked into a bar where people are singing. I'm like, I would love that experience. That'd be so fun.
It'd
But
be
like,
so
yeah,
awesome.
It's a
Yeah.
little far-fetched
Yeah,
right now.
that's true.
Yeah, it's hard to relate to it, but that's, I
Oh.
think, have you ever been to a bar where they're singing?
Yeah.
Really? I'm jealous.
When, what do you mean by singing? I've done either.
Anything. Even
like
karaoke, kind of.
I've done it where like you're the crowd loving the songs, like Sweet Caroline.
yeah.
Whenever
Yeah,
that
yeah.
comes on, literally everyone's screaming. And if you're walking in the sidewalk, you like look in, and you're like, oh my gosh, they look so fun. Let's go in. So
Yeah,
I've
That's a
done
good
that.
point. That is the
And
modern
sports
version
games and
of
stuff like
this.
that. Yeah.
Karaokeing is also
Yep,
a fun
yep, yep.
one. I've done that a ton of times.
I think this just, to me, the songs really made it feel more authentic because it feels like it would in medieval times
Yeah, it does.
where
Like,
you don't have your
entertainment,
records, your CDs, your iPods, your whatever.
Yeah, they don't have
So
music blasting.
That
so they
is
gotta
their
make
only
music
entertainment,
themselves.
you know? Like, so I feel like the value of song was greater back then in some ways. So this just feels so authentic. I also feel like it's easier to read, but harder too. I like that I can read at my own pace, but then I can't find the rhythm until I'm like, halfway through the song, and I'm like, I think I'm reading it in a good rhyme scheme. So I'm so curious how Andy Serkis does it.
But you're
I
probably
still don't go back
absorbing
and
the
listen, though.
lines. Like I'm not listening to the lyrics.
You just zone out. You're
Yeah.
like, oh, whatever. But then I'm reading as if it's going to give something away. And then I get to the end and I'm like, I think that was pointless.
That's like, I'm trying to read them like, what is this about?
Yeah.
Like, this is a clue.
Yeah.
But
Because
then,
they have really important ones,
Yeah.
and some are just throwaways.
yeah.
Like
So
the
true.
one line that Gandalf gives, I was like absorbing It's like I feel like that's the whole story encapsulated into one small little poem.
Yep.
He writes this as like a PS. I'm like, that's the greatest way to end the letter right there with that little poem. I'm gonna start ending letters like that.
Oh, that one was
so
good.
good.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden Sam sings one.
Yeah,
PS,
or something,
great.
right?
I loved it. But some of them just have no meaning, and I'm trying to parse it out. And then I like how some of them, there's some stanzas of certain songs in the movies, and then they're not till the end. So it's like I'll recognize that song at the end, and I'm like, why didn't Andy Serkis sing it like it is in the movie? It would have been so much greater. But he doesn't.
I love how you
alas.
know the rhythm of the movie one.
Yeah, and it is shocking to me too because they spend I did not think there were so many songs in the movies, but there are. There's a ton of songs.
Oh, because you're reading
music.
these songs and you're like, oh yeah, that was in it.
Yeah. And I'm like, wow, they did a lot of singing in the movies that I did not even recognize at first.
Yeah. Well, that's the problem with a book. But honestly, that's where the movies can do so well. In a book, the song has your full attention because it's obviously it's right there. But in the movies, there are so many opportunities for songs to be in the background, kind of where they should be, so then you can have Merry and Pippin dancing around singing about the Green Dragon, and it's not your full attention. You're doing something else. You're having a conversation, and then every once in a while you peek over and you see them and they're laughing and it's fun, but then back to a conversation. But in the book, you're like, all right, 3 pages, here we go. So it's just different.
Like we've had this discussion last week, but it's like there's so many songs in the series that it just is shocking me a bit how much is like poetically or musically fashioned.
It's like their culture, though.
Yeah, exactly. I love it. Yeah.
I feel like it fits hobbits. To always be singing.
Yeah, exactly.
Like
so
walking
true.
through the roads and the woods.
I'm sure Tolkien would walk into some of these English bars in the early 1900s, and I'm sure that's what people were doing back then. No phones, no TVs.
Yep.
Maybe like a radio playing some music, but not really. So I'm sure people were.
I'm trying to even think when we were in Europe, though.
Yeah.
There wasn't much music that I even remember. Maybe it was too early.
Places in general.
Yeah, because we went to the one bar that had the
grapes.
Yeah.
Yeah, Gandalf's pub.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah. That was really cool. But you're right. I don't remember any music. I also think of
were having trivia night.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. If there is a place that still has music, it'd be some Irish pub.
Yeah.
Where they're just chanting along to some old song. I can picture it. But we don't do that in the States.
In Scotland either, right?
We'll have to bring it to the States.
Yeah, we got to bring it.
No, they did have music at one of the ones we went to. It was later. Remember? There was there was a guy playing in the front of it.
That was
Scotland on the one when we had dinner. Last time,
we had dinner. Yeah. There was some. They were like setting up to play.
Yeah, you're right. They were setting up to play.
And now I'm thinking there was actually a couple. Anyways,
you just didn't notice it was in the background.
It was in the background where it belongs.
Sorry, yeah.
So
anyway, well, thanks for joining us. Welcome to the podcast. I'm John,
Jen,
Danny,
and Lizzie.
And this is Harry. The Fellowship of the First Time Readers.
You gotta do it again.
No, let's just keep going there or whatever.
It's all part of the charm.
Harry and the Fellowship.
For anyone who found us from the Fellowship, we have another podcast
for the First Time Readers. Okay, let's do a summary of chapter 9 because we're going to be doing 9, 10, 11, and 12. 9 is at the sign of the Prancing Pony.
The crew goes into Bree to start the chapter. The Prancing Pony is the local pub. They went in. They had fun, a little too much fun, and Frodo accidentally puts the ring on. They met Strider, and he knows a weird amount about them.
Like a creepy amount.
Amount. Like he's been creeping.
Yeah.
You're like, what is going on here?
It made some of what he knows. It makes me want to reread through the chapters and see if like there's any hints of like Striders in the woods peeking through the bushes. Or something like that. Like looking for them.
The one that he climbs over the gate. That was like the obvious one. But
that was creepy.
He wouldn't be at the Brandywine Bridge, right? That was the wraiths.
Well, honestly, I did think about it only because I didn't think of the Black Riders as crouching.
Yeah.
That felt out of character, but they're changing reading the books compared to the movies, because in the movies I feel like they're so upright and mysterious, and when they talk it's so wispy and like screamy that it doesn't feel human. But then this, I'm like, they feel a little bit more human, but I still have a hard time picturing them crouching. But Strider, Aragorn, I can picture him getting on the ground and like feeling the grass or smelling something and being like, 4 hobbits came through here.
Yeah, because that was
I don't
a
know.
disparity that I had too. We'll talk about Strider in the next chapter as well, but he's his character is so interesting to me in the books, because in the movies they make him this guy who, like, I keep thinking of in the second movie when he's like, a hobbit lay here and another hobbit here. I'm like, you're looking at the dirt in the ground. I'm like, there's no way you can tell that, but they make him this incredible tracker. I like how in the books he's like world renowned as this tracker, but he's not like movie good.
Yeah,
He's like, I have to double back. He's like doing all these things that in the movie he would never do.
You're right. Even
He's
when
not
the
perfect.
by
Yeah.
the river,
Yeah.
he's like, you guys already walked around here and ruined it. I can't see anything anymore. But you're right. Like in the movie, there were orcs everywhere and a few hobbits in the middle, and yet he knows exactly where they were.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. Unrealistic.
Because you'll notice this too when you watch the movies. He's less refined in his tracking abilities in the books, but he is more refined altogether to me in the books right now. What was your guys' initial impression of Aragorn? Here he seems like rough around the edges, but he seems like he is ready to be king. Like,
I didn't trust him at first.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Right.
I love Sam's hesitation with trusting him.
Yep.
Yeah. Because I would have been like him.
Yeah.
I would have been like Sam. Well, we don't even know. Just because he says
Yep.
that he can lead us.
Exactly. I love all Sam's questions too. He's like, wouldn't someone do this? Why how do we know you didn't murder Strider? And you're just like, falling
I
into
know
it.
that was actually
Great
good,
questions.
too.
You just told us to be cautious,
Yeah.
but now you're saying trust you without questions? Come on.
But in the next
I still feel like he's rough around the edges.
Really?
I was like Sam reading it like, why would I trust him? Why is he being so weird? Why isn't he mentioning Gandalf? This doesn't seem to make sense. But then when he explained it, I was like, oh, all right, fair point.
Well, maybe rough around the edges is the wrong way I'm saying it. I think he is rough around the edges. I think what I'm talking about more is in the movies, he doesn't want the king role. In this, he's carrying around Isildur's
and I was
sword,
like, oh, he's like,
which is shocking. He's carrying around the shards of Narsil, like the half the sword hilt.
Of what is
like
that?
the sword, so it's like this ancient sword, and his sword broke. And it's like the sword, like the king's sword of Griffin.
Oh wow!
Classic. Twice
Too much
in
Harry
one
Potter
episode.
right now. Of Gondor.
Nice.
And he's like
letter.
carrying this around, and he seems like he wants to take this on, and he wants to be king. He seems
Yeah.
like he's marching toward this goal. Whereas in the books, he looks like, or in the movies, he seems like he wants nothing to do with it.
Yeah.
No, that's a good point. And in the movies, it
Is
feels,
he?
yeah, go for it. What?
This might be wrong because I haven't watched in a while, but I thought he was like liked by everyone also in the movies, and in the books, it seems like they don't really know anything about him, or he's mysterious, and they're like, well, I'm not so sure about this character.
He's also kind of a jerk.
And me.
He said this one line.
Did he? I don't know.
To the barkeeper. I'll reiterate that. I think that's in the next chapter. But I was kind of shocked.
I just thought, that he was like liked by everyone, and it doesn't seem like that in the books.
It felt to me like he was trying to like keep up his persona of like being the ranger, and like he's like, oh, I'm rough around the edges, but like you need me to guide you, and I'm like so skilled. But I feel like he was purposefully trying to be like at the edge of the room, and like nobody really knows about me. Like, I don't know. I felt like he was just trying to be that way on purpose.
When he comes into the scene, it was pretty cool because like the movies, I think did a really good depiction of that. Like he's hanging out in the back, like smoking his pipe home. Like the books kind of painted that exact picture.
Yeah,
the movies
you're right.
Did it really well.
But it's such a more slow burn in the book too. Like he just lets the whole scene unfold, and then is like, oh, Frodo, you shouldn't have done that. Whereas in the movie, it's just like, boom, everything happens.
And you just trust him because he's Vigo and he's like an incredible person. You know?
And I don't know if you were reading this for the first time with no context, if you would put together that he was the one searching for Gollum with Gandalf at the beginning.
Yeah.
Because you don't get his real name right away. So by the time you get his real name, there may be in separate worlds in your mind.
Must be so. Yeah, that might be fun.
do like it when we're reading it, because then he's not a brand new character that you're still learning to trust. On some level, then once you get his name, you're like, oh wow, so Gandalf actually trusts him. And it seems like he's worked with Gandalf before, and he knows what's going on. He knows the whole story. So it's just really different viewing his character now. But I don't know which one is better.
Yeah. I like that they're different though. Like Nemo's like in the chat too. It was just like he says movie Aragorn is a modern interpretation of what a hero should be in fantasy. Book Aragorn is what the perception was 100 years ago. Which I kind of love that. Like I think that's I like that there's differences between these characters. The same thing with Frodo. In this chapter, particularly in this chapter, what did you notice for his character differences? Maybe that's just my question. Did he have any small, slight differences in his character this chapter, or any of these chapters?
Versus the movies?
No, just versus like even the previous chapters that we read. Because part of me is confused here because he has some what seem like out of character moments to me that seem like the ring is corrupting him in some way.
Wait, I think I lost some of this. I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
Who are you talking about right now?
Frodo.
Okay.
Sorry, yeah.
That's why.
Skipped and jumped.
I felt like the difference from the movie was him getting on the table and singing at all felt unique because I was like, oh, wait, whoa, what's happening? This bar is a different vibe. In the movie, the bar was a little more intimidating. Everyone looked angry a little bit, and you're like, ooh. But here it feels way more fun and jolly. And then he's up on the table and singing a song, which I just didn't expect. So it felt like he was more lighthearted. And it also, in general, felt like Frodo had more control. In the movies, it kind of feels like he's just going with the flow a little bit. He feels kind of timid. But it feels like he's a little bit more commanding in this. I don't know how to describe it.
He's like, he's...
In previous chapters.
But yeah, in previous chapters, I don't know, because it feels like he's stepping into responsibility a little more. Like he's trying to lead and take the lead and like make calls. But it also feels like one of his first big calls is saying, ooh, I don't trust that it was Sam and Pippin who were talking at the bar, and he's like, they're going to spill the beans. I got to step in. Yeah. So there was a certain arrogance to it because obviously in the end it caused way more trouble than they would have caused from whatever they would have said. But I don't know if I've noticed any other differences. Like, did you feel like he was acting different in this chapter or the rest of these?
I feel like I agree with what you're saying, but then I was wondering, is it possible that like the ring gives you like a confidence thing?
Ooh, interesting.
Because I feel like he is different. Yeah. Where like I wouldn't have expected him to do that. And then other moments later on where it like just, pop. I don't know. Other instances, I feel like he's being more like risky or like confident, or he's got the power, but he's not really sure how it's taking over him or how that is being displayed in these few chapters. I'm not really sure what I'm getting at. But
at the very least, he has impulses from the ring to at least put the ring on. So like he's receiving these things from the ring that are like almost like infecting his brain in some way. And that's why he's like, again, I like the differences even between Frodo movie and Frodo book, because in the I can't even, there's not like a word to describe the difference. It's not like wisdom. Like in the movies, he's like wise, but he's like less. He's more like a hobbit in the books, where like he's on this mission, but he still like wants to enjoy himself. So he still is going down to the bar. Merry and Pippin are the ones that leave and that stay behind. And I like that, like they go for their walks. Like they're still in their hobbit routines, doing their hobbit things. I love that. They're not just like on this mission like the movies, like they're dead set on this, and Merry and Pippin are just a comedic relief that like go drink and like spoil everything. I like that the whole friendship is more complex right now, and Frodo in particular seems like that to me, like where he's not just this like, he's almost shyer in the movies. In the books he's just like doing his own thing. He's like 50 years old, living his life, very confident in who he is, like knows what he has to do, but like if he's at a bar, he's gonna go have a good time at a bar, and he's gonna go sing a song at a bar, and I think that's kind of great. I kind of love that.
This singing of a song was to distract for a purpose, right?
Yeah, it almost felt like he was trying to cut them off mid-sentence So he just was like, he like stands on a table, gets everyone's attention, and he's like, now what do I do? So what song would Lizzie sing if she jumps on a table, has to get everyone's attention?
I was thinking it was completely for like the distraction factor. Like I don't think he was having a good time.
Yeah, it didn't feel like he was having a good time. But on some level, the fact that that was his instinct meant that there's like, he's a guy who likes having a good time. I don't know what it was.
Hobbit out of the Shire. Yeah. In the movie, he feels like he's being led everywhere, and I like how you said he's shy. I agree with that. But from the previous chapters to this, I think he seems not necessarily more protective of the ring, but like more cautious and paranoid about other people and their relationship to the ring. Like everyone at the bar, or maybe it's just because he has to like adopt his new Mr. Underhill personality. That
he's getting like, a new personality.
Yeah, that he's like really cautious now. But that was one thing I noticed, and he's like more direct now, I think too. Like how he was talking with Aragorn, like he was not giving up any information.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Does Frodo to you guys seem mean?
No,
just a little bit.
And that's so I get a little. Oh gosh, can't even get words out. I think both of you guys are right because I don't really perceive him as mean, but the times that I perceive him as mean are the times when I think he's like infected by the ring. Because this was one of the lines in the chapter where it says, "Certainly," said Frodo, but his heart sank. He wondered how many private talks he would have before he got to bed, and what they would reveal. Were all these people in a league against him? He began to suspect even old Butterbur's fat face of concealing dark designs. Like in his head, he's like making fun of these people, and like he's not the nicest to these people. And the same thing with Aragorn later. But are these trust issues himself, like Frodo himself, or are they the ring infecting him?
that is a fascinating idea.
But if it was the ring giving you trust issues, wouldn't it make you trust the sketchy people because it wants to go to the ring wraiths?
Yeah.
I forget his name. The sketchy guy that like gave him out.
Yeah.
Wouldn't it like want you to trust him?
And that's like the thing too. Like that, I think that's what we're going to come back to a lot is what is the ring's power, and how do we see it at work and play in the books? And right now, I don't know. I don't think I see the ring so much as like able to like help, like tell you who to trust and who to not trust. I think it's just psychologically going to screw you up. Yeah. Where I think it's like you're constantly going to be questioning yourself and questioning other people and their allegiance, and like it's going to make you stressed and like freaking out over every little detail.
I don't think it was this chapter, but there was a line that was like Frodo was wondering if it was more the ring, like he put on the ring because the ring wanted him to rather than like because he wanted to.
Yep.
And it was just like the power shift of like the ring taking over.
There was a kind of a line in this one too. I wrote that down. It says he felt the ring on its chain, and quite unaccountably the desire came over him to slip it on and vanish out of sight out of the silly situation. It seemed to him somehow as if the suggestion had come to him from the outside, from someone or something in the room. He resisted the temptation firmly and clasped the ring in his hand as if to keep a hold on it and prevent it from escaping or doing any mischief. That's like, I like that the ring has tiny personality right now. It's like you can see it wants to do its own thing. It's like almost fighting against Frodo for some of these, and then realize that it's trying to manipulate him in some way. But I like that it seems to have a mind of its own now.
Yep.
Didn't it always though?
Yeah, I think it did.
But you're saying like with Frodo.
Yeah.
And I feel like for a long, long time, it didn't have that much of a mind of its own with Bilbo. Not that we saw, really. And now with Frodo, I think it's starting to get that, whether evil's growing in the world or whether...
And that's how I perceived it.
Yeah, or whether it's just time with Frodo. I don't know, but...
Yeah. I think it has to like learn Frodo's personality and weaknesses. Like they have to...
Get to know each other a little bit.
Exactly.
Know how to manipulate them.
Which is creepy. It's like scary. This ring is invasive. And I think you're exactly right. I think it's creepy that the ring is getting to know him and like figuring out who this person is so that it can infect his mind in some way. But I don't know. Sometimes I don't know if at the moment I will say I don't know necessarily if Frodo's bad qualities are attributed to the ring or if they are just Frodo.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Well, the times he's used it so far, he's trying to escape from the situation at the bar, and then he's trying to escape from the ring wraith itself. So I don't know. I think later he has like other reasons to put it on, but right now he's just trying to leave the situation and like get a free pass.
Yeah.
Not have to fight his little battles that he's got.
This ring would be great for an introvert. There's a big party, like lots of issues. Oh, slip the ring on, you're out of there.
Easy goodbye. Boom. Oh, that'd be great.
Yeah. Instead of like Irish exits, you can call them like, I don't know, Frodo exits or something.
Yeah, right.
Bilbo exits. Yeah, the Shire exits. I love that.
I like that in the song there was a little asterisk, and it said "C note" on mine 1084, and it explains why calendar dates and Roman dates are written that way. And I was like, oh wow, because that was the thing that threw me out of the world a little bit. And he went on to explain it, and of course he's got a detailed calendar, and the elves have a calendar, the hobbits have a calendar, and this is what they call days and months and years. So I thought that was cool. It's a deeper world.
Yeah, this world is is a lot deeper than Harry Potter. I've found it already. Like even how the chapters are in, you like he can't help but go on to these little bunny trails here and there, which I love. I think it's fun. Chapter 10, Strider. Unless you guys had anything else in this, but chapter 10 is kind of just a continuation on this as well, which is just more of who Strider is. And this was the line that I was talking about where he seems mean because he says, well, you know your own business, maybe, said Mr. Butterbur, looking suspiciously at Strider. But if I was in your plight, I wouldn't take up with a ranger. Then who would you take up with, asked Strider. A fat innkeeper who only remembers his own name because people shouted him all day?
Oh, yeah. I remember that line.
That was shocking to me.
Yikes.
Like, Aragorn has a little bit of sass.
Yeah, you're right. I don't know why I didn't take it that intense when I read it, but hearing you say it now, I'm like, oh, yeah, that is quite a lot.
That's how it's, like, read to you in the audiobook, too.
Interesting.
With, like, a tone of that.
Yeah.
I almost thought of it more playful, I think, when I read it. Only because I had a hard time connecting Aragorn with that kind of sass, maybe. It felt like it was kind of like, haha. But also, I think I misread a lot of Frodo's lines and even Sam's lines earlier as being too sassy instead of being joking around with friends. So I tried to lighten the tone of my reading a little bit so it wouldn't come off too heavy. But maybe I accidentally lightened it too much.
We just got a dono. Sorry. $2. Dono.
Hey, nice.
Yeah, I like that you're reading it a little bit different, like with a little bit more lightheartedness to Aragorn's lines, because that one was hard for me to get a grasp on. And that's why, again, I like that you kind of corrected it. I don't think Aragorn's necessarily more put together. I think he's actually, now that I think he's actually like more rough around the edges in the books than he is in the movies. And the movies, he's like a man's man, and he still is in the books, but he's like, this person is a god, and he just doesn't want to be king, and that's all. Like he's confident in who he is. He's already has everything together, knows where he's going, knows what to do exactly. Like everything's perfectly in order, but just doesn't want the responsibility of like what is calling on him. And here he seems like he wants that responsibility, but he's like, I just described him as like a greasy smoker, kind of. Like he comes in from like out in the wilderness smoking his pipe, and then like he's in and he's just like making fun of people, and he's like,
yep.
I don't know. He just seems a little greasier in the books right now than the movies, which I kind of like.
I'm still curious what his motivation is for being the guy he is. Like, I'm just curious, like, how does one become a ranger? And he's been a ranger in this area for this long that he's got nicknames and all that.
Yeah, right.
Like,
yeah.
Has he been keeping an eye on Frodo and the ring specifically for like 17 years since Gandalf left? How long has he been doing this? Mm-hmm. And why? Why is he running around the world? Just like, does he want to learn all of Middle Earth? Is he trying to scout a little bit? Is it like all for future plans? I don't know.
Yeah.
Hard to connect with that.
But in that instance, couldn't it just be like annoyance? Like he's annoyed that
That he
Frodo's
just-
not believing.
Yeah, he just got
Yeah.
defensive.
Absolutely.
It's classic.
Yeah.
And
I'm sure they've all had
I feel
long
like
days.
even if that wasn't your personality,
Yeah, I think that's a great point.
you would react that way. I would react that way.
Yeah. You and it's good too because I like that the hobbits initially don't trust him. Then I like that Sam withholds his trust in him. Even like I still feel like at the end of chapter 12, I still feel like Sam doesn't really trust him that much. Like he's still withholding his trust in him to some extent through small little lines he gives here and there. But I like that the hobbits are a little mistrusting of him, and they kind of just come to it. And they're like, okay, yeah, he definitely knows what he's doing. And then I like the line of like, a servant of Mordor would feel fair and what does he say? Would look fair and feel fouler or something like that.
That sounds right.
And then Aragorn was like making a joke out of that. He's like, what? So I don't look fair? I thought that was great. He's like a little sassier in the book, which I kind of love.
I also think that maybe being fat is less of an insult since this could be medieval days.
Yeah.
Being fat just means you're wealthy. You're well
There you
off,
go.
And
Yeah.
that's why being fatty lumpkin or fatty bulger is
Yeah.
not an insult.
I love that.
They're
All right.
proud of it. They're just
Yeah.
content,
So he's paying him a compliment here. I
Yeah,
love
like
that.
it's not so harsh.
I'm into that. And then this was the poem that we got as the PPS or PPPPS or whatever it was. All that is gold does not glitter. Not all those who wander are lost. The old that is strong does not wither. Deep roots are not reached by the frost. From the ashes a fire shall be woken. A light from the shadows shall spring. Renewed shall be blade that was broken. The crownless again shall be king. Imagine if you wrote a letter to someone and ended the letter with that. It's like the ultimate mic drop.
Crazy.
Gandalf wrote that and he just dropped the pen. I just wrote a banger right there.
Oh, I wanted to see what it looked like.
Gandalf's little signature. All that is gold does not glitter. Is that like where that line comes from?
Yeah. Yep.
So Smash Mouth was trying to indirectly quote Gandalf.
Yeah, they didn't. Yeah.
So all that is gold does not glitter is talking about the ring, right?
Mm-hmm.
Not all those who wander are lost means this crew. Also, great line. Is that from this book?
I think so.
Because
I know.
I've seen that so many
on some
places.
It's like on
and
bumper
Jeeps.
stickers. Yeah.
I
Not
love
all
that.
one. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I think that literally just comes from this. I think it's.
But then the next lines I maybe don't quite know, but then ashes of fire shall be woken. Balrog vibes, maybe.
Ooh.
Because although it depends when this prophecy came about, but the Balrog would have already been awoken by now. Awakened. But it still could be future tense from when the prophecy poem was written. And then renewed blade. So I feel like this could be a bunch of things in a row. This could be 4 prophecies in one that culminate in the king. And not even 4. This is like 6, 7, 8 prophecies. Who knows? But
Wait.
I'm just curious if they're all different lines.
All that is gold does not glitter is from Shakespeare.
Well, fair enough.
Tolkien. But, same thing.
It's also funny
That
because
goes way farther back than I thought.
Aragorn repeats that back to Frodo without seeing the letter,
Yes,
right?
and that's what I loved because it
But-
confirms that Aragorn
Yeah.
knows.
But it was funny because I understand how you like what you took off this part, but when he repeated it back, I thought he was talking about himself. Like, all that is gold does not glitter. Like, he was a king, but he's not glittering. And then not all those who wander are lost. Like, he's not
Like he's a wanderer,
lost king.
a ranger.
He's a ranger
Yeah, I like that.
wandering. So that's interesting.
No,
hearing
that
your
makes
perspective.
honestly that makes more sense.
Because then I thought maybe he was talking like a poem about Aragorn, so he can.
Yeah, like this whole thing could just be about the future king. He's rough around the edges. He wanders around. He's old. The old that is strong does not wither. So he's old and strong. Sure. Deep roots are not reached by the frost. I don't know what the frost exactly would be, but I feel like it just means that the bloodline is still there, like the roots,
Oh,
the family tree.
yeah, I love that. Yeah. I'm like thinking of all these just not like superficially, but like, yeah, like, you know, like plant your roots deep, Frodo. You know?
Right. I mean, honestly, yeah.
Apply to
That
And then from the ashes, fire shall be woken could literally just be like, we're firing up the forge.
Ooh. Yeah, because renewed shall be blade that was broken.
But then a light from the shadows shall spring could be so many different things. Light from the shadow. I don't know. Because that could be a bad thing, like Mordor shadows, or something else. But then renewed the blade and king. So great poem there, Gandalf, you know?
That was also so he could prove that he was Aragorn, right? So that like,
I think
when
so,
he took
right?
out his
So
sword,
he could say it, and then it would be a quote from the
'Cause he's
letter.
like-
mid poem,
doesn't he,
Aragorn's
like-
pulling out the sword.
Yeah, he's like, look, this is broken.
The blade that
It's
be
me.
broken is gonna get renewed, guys.
And has he always been carrying it? Like in the movies?
Yeah.
I don't
That
remember
is
him
wild
carrying it
to
at
me.
all.
No.
I almost got the impression it was just held in Rivendell or
Yeah.
somewhere else.
It
that
is.
We just don't. Right.
It's in
Maybe
Rivendell.
So
it
you
yeah.
goes
just get there and
back.
it's just there, right? So this is kind of funny.
Yeah.
Is the rest of it in Rivendell and he just carries the hilt?
And then there's another point too where I had to ask Nemo this because I saw this and I just misread a family tree, but Elrond's brother is the line of Aragorn, and Elrond gives birth to obviously Arwen, and they get married, so they're like marrying cousins or something like that. But,
Whoa.
Or like no, like this is like grand, like because Arwen is significantly older.
Yes, older, right.
So it's like a funny little.
I don't even know who that is.
We'll figure it out. We'll get there. We'll
Arwen?
get there.
I don't remember anyone's name.
That's good. I hope you don't.
You literally mentioned.
Is that
her.
a Liv
Yeah.
Tyler?
All right,
Yeah.
nice. You got there.
Okay.
Yep.
Wait, significantly older? She looks like she's.
She's like 1,000 or something, right? I don't know.
I think so. I think around there.
But
I don't know
in the
exactly.
movies, they like
Cause
it's
In the movie,
Aragorn's
she's-
like 80.
23.
yeah, and then it shows them as like long lost lovers, but nothing
Yeah.
like came of it.
Yeah.
But
Nothing
maybe I don't
came of it?
remember. I don't
Well,
remember it.
This
okay?
was,
Yeah,
this will
nothing
lead
came
us.
of it, but
This
I'm
will
just
lead us
saying.
into the next chapter discussion as well, because he sings a song of Beren and Luthien or something like that, or like tells the tale of these people.
Yep.
And this is essentially like his
her.
in like a small little encapsulation, because he's talking about when I was listening to it with Nemo, and he was like giving me some like little details about all this kind of stuff, which is fantastic. It was so fun. But he was talking about how like that story of Beren and Luthien is one of the coolest. He like loves it so much. He's like, there's lore about that in the Silmarillion, or however you say that. And you just get a small little snippet in these books, but he's like, the whole story is grand. It's scheming. It's like really, really fun. But that's just, it was like the elf maiden laid down her immortality for this man who was mortal so that they could be together.
Oh, interesting. It also reminded me of the other show, The Rings of. Even though
Yeah,
she
yeah,
didn't do,
yeah.
she kind of did that.
Yeah.
Like she left to stay on Earth.
Yeah,
instead of
like
go
she
back
didn't go
to-
out, yeah,
Anyway,
to the land beyond the sea.
for a guy.
Mm.
Not
Kind of.
exactly.
I have Valathor right now says it's one of the best stories in the Legendarium. I like that word too, Legendarium. It's a great word. But yeah. Anything else in the Strider chapter? It was a great way to end. That letter ending was great. But that whole poem was, I feel like there's a lot of deeper meaning behind that. I feel like that's probably the whole series in like an encapsulation. But I can't parse everything out quite yet.
Gandalf's poem?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm curious where Gandalf is going at this exact moment.
Yeah, okay. That's a good point. What is happening to Gandalf? Actually, we'll talk about that next chapter, because they come across something that they think is Gandalf's. Like, where is he going at this moment?
I was thinking to Saruman.
Yeah.
But
I
then
thought so
I'm
too.
like, does that actually make sense? And then I'm like, I might be confusing it, but I think he was. And then maybe it's been too long since I've seen the movies too, but it's for the better.
Well, I think
yeah, I
we're
was
going to
like,
get
where
more
could he
details
have
about it
gone?
too, because
Yeah, right.
everything happens quicker in the movies. So, like, Frodo immediately leaves Bag End. It's not like years after. So the one thing that I'm curious about is when Gandalf probably finally does give his tale about what happened, like where was he? Because he found something out, then he wanted to go seek out Saruman in the movie, but I'm like, there was years between that. So like, where was he? What was he doing in between those years? He was always keeping a watch. He said he always like had a watch person over the Shire, over Hobbiton. But I'm like, what else? Like, what was he doing in those years?
If I was just reading this right now with no other context, I would have thought Gandalf went off to the south, because it sounds like something in the south is happening, and they're not really saying what. They're just saying people keep fleeing north from the south because of something that's happening. And in Bree, they're kind of talking about that, whatever this north-south road. So then I was just thinking Gandalf probably went south to go do something with whatever drama's happening down there. Also, Nob, everyone's making fun of him as being dumb, but he did ruffle up some clothes and make them look like imitation people in bed. So go Nob.
Yeah, it was solid,
and also,
solid work.
Strider talks about the Black Breath, Dementor kiss.
Ooh, I love that.
Classic. We've been there before. And that's all I got for this chapter.
All right, chapter 11, which is A Knife in the Dark. This is they are heading on their way. They're kind of on their journey. Aragorn takes them off path, and they have to go through a bog for like 3 days, and then they finally get to Weathertop, and Frodo gets stabbed. But it starts with Fatty Bolger, who's a very brave hobbit. But it was terrifying that this section in the audiobooks like brought a shiver in my whole body because it was read so well. It was terrifying. When he said there was a faint stir in the leaves and a cock crowed far away. The cold hour before dawn was passing. The figure by the door moved. In the dark, without moon or stars, a drawn blade gleamed, as if a chill light had been unsheathed. There was a blow, soft but heavy, and the door shuddered. Open in the name of Mordor, said a thin voice, and menacing. And like the way he reads that in the audiobook was chilling. It was so good. It was terrifying. But I love that Fatty Bolger runs out.
Yeah, seriously.
That was crazy.
Good move. Take action.
I know. Fatty Bolger is great. Oh yeah, that was a terrifying little section. But what did you guys have in this chapter? What did you see? Anything good? I like that we do get a lot of lines from the movies too. Like, I think there was a line, what do they get? What do they eat when they can't get Hobbit or something like that? When they're swatting all the flies away in the bog. That's like an extended version line from the movies. I love that. That was great.
I just was rereading this little section where Fatty's running away. So about a mile away, he collapsed on a doorstep crying, no, 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 not me. I haven't got it. And I just thought, it's a little sloppy. He's saying, I haven't got it already. Yeah. So I just feel like he's a little putting it out there.
Yeah. He's like setting them up on the trail, which is why they are able to see them. See him at Withertop. Yeah. Okay. And was this wasn't a flashback, right? This was like, was this happening in the moment? Or was this maybe like a flashback in like a week before or something?
I think a flashback would make more sense.
Yeah.
I thought of it maybe being that way, but I couldn't tell if there was anything to give us clues. But that would definitely make sense.
Someone says he should have asked for a warrant.
I felt like the Black Riders were smarter in the books. Even while like Strider is saying it was part of their plan, no doubt.
Yeah.
And I'm like, their plan, like it feels like they're a little more scheming and coordinating and communicating, where the movie impression is a little more like they're single-minded and just like going for the ring without much thought. So this makes them more intimidating, that it feels like they're coming up with plans, and
they seem less human-like to me too. They're like, I don't know. They're more complex characters. Like the book is making everyone more complex and more interesting to me.
Yep.
It's like a little less cut and dry, which I think is great. I love it. Like these characters, they seem a little less human-like, but at the same time, they like are disguising themselves well or something. I don't know what it would be. but they seem to be men. They're not positive. Like even Aragorn is confused as to whether the people who are stalking them are really the Black Riders or not. And then finally he gets confirmation of it. But the whole thing is really fascinating to me. I think these guys are good.
I kind of don't like how simple it is that like if you travel by the light of the day that's like all they need to erase you from their vision, because like they can't see you, but then it says like the noon sun like casts you away from their vision. And then like their horses are the ones that's seeing you. I don't know. I feel like they should have better perception of the ring. Like they're being drawn to the ring.
That's a great point.
But they seem a little just like being led by the horses in a way.
Yeah.
Or like the fact that you can just have like a fire and like that protects you. That
yeah,
seems
exactly.
Like really
like
mediocre to me.
That is too why I kind of like the movie's representation of that, because it seemed like they had a fire and they were protected from these things. Whereas like Aragorn comes in like throwing fire around and like he throws the fire through the thing's like head and then he's good, you know. I like that he puts up a more significant fight in the books. There's like more of a magic feel to it. Like even traveling on the road versus not traveling on the road, I'm like, I know logically why they're doing that, but there also feels like there's some sort of magic embedded in all this, which I like and don't like at the same time. Like I like that it's more magical, but also I feel like sometimes it can be a crutch or an excuse. Like I hope that it doesn't come down to it in like the rest of the whole series where it's like, oh, they can't do this because of the magic. I'm like,
I remember when I watched the movie for the first time, I was so annoyed by that with the ring wraiths. I was like, why are they like, they should just be able to persist through anything. Like they should not ever be scared away. And yeah, I just didn't really ever understand that. Like I think they should be more invincible than they are. If they're dead already.
Yeah, I'm actually with you. Like, yeah, they're dead already. So what the heck is a wraith? Oh crap! Also,
like
a spirit.
What does what look like?
No, like I can't.
You're saying on the front cover, that guy?
Sure.
What are the wraiths?
What are you saying? Like? Or you want an explanation? You're gonna Google them, aren't you?
Also, I have to say this because I thought this was a really cool fact. Someone commented on our YouTube, Jonas, and they said, no spoiler, just some background. The barrows the hobbits encounter are the graves of forgotten kings of Anor. That is one of the two kingdoms the Númenóreans built after their island of Númenor was destroyed. Gondor in the south and Anor in the north. Anor fell into ruin after constant war against the northern kingdom of Angmar. Although Anor lost the wars, the swords of the kings of Anor are said to be very efficient in killing people from Angmar and might come in handy later for at least one of the 4 hobbits.
Whoa.
I like little facts like that.
That's
I love that
awesome.
stuff. So I didn't like, I mean, obviously we don't know this, but those were like the graves of this old kingdom of men. I thought a fact like that was so fascinating. So cool. Like anytime you guys have stuff like that, that's not spoiler, obviously, let us know because I will soak all that up. I love that. But yeah, that's why I was trying to think of what the heck the barrows are and then what the heck the wraiths are. And the depiction in the movies, like there's a line in the movies where I think Strider, they had just meeting Strider, or who would they talk to, where he goes, they are neither living nor dead. They always like feed on the presence of the ring, or they always feel it. I think maybe Gandalf says that in the movies.
Don't read images.
I want to.
She's trying to find spoilers right now.
I'm not trying to find spoilers. I like to have a better understanding because I feel like I'm lost and you guys are going on and on about.
All right, well, that's partly because we love talking about all this stuff.
No, it's fine because that's the point. But I'm lost, so.
What are you looking up though?
She wants to know what ring wraiths look like. Hard to picture them.
Yeah. Well, which is a fascinating question. What the heck is a wraith? Like
and also I'm like, has that word been used, or do we just know that's what they are, or they don't get called that till later?
Like, it's
and
really
even when
funny.
we just Googled it, they're called Nazgul.
You guys have never read the book, but the way you're talking about the movie is so detailed that I'm like clueless.
Yeah, sorry.
I think
Maybe we should have done a movie watch with you first.
It must have at some point, right?
What?
Maybe we just know them as Black Riders right now.
But they do go by many names.
I thought it said they were wraiths. A ghost or ghost-like image of someone.
Let me just do a search on the book.
Command F.
Yep.
Ooh.
The exact likeness of a living person.
Don't read things.
Why? I'm not gonna read it out loud.
Okay, so it does. It comes up in Shadow of the Past, where we have, long ago they fell under the dominion of the One, and they became ring wraiths, shadows under his great shadow, his most terrible servants. Long ago, it is many a year since the nine walked abroad, yet who knows? As the shadow grows once more, they too may walk again.
These are the 9 rings of power. Is that what you're saying?
We will not speak of such things.
Thought you weren't finding spoilers in there.
Even in the morning.
He just said it, and I just repeated it.
No, So this is definitely the 9. Also, like the 9 men who fell. But what is this? What is this line though? As the shadow grows once more, they too may walk again.
Like it gets more evil.
Well,
that they can walk again.
I don't know. Wait, where's that line being pulled from? Because that sounds like they didn't exist for a long time, but now that evil is growing, they're walking again.
That was in Shadow of the Past when Gandalf and Frodo are doing the rehash of everything.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, that's what you said, Jenna.
Thank you.
I thought there were 5 of them. There's 9 of them.
No, I think we only see 5 of them at the moment, right?
I couldn't tell if they all made it to the river at the end.
Yeah.
Wait, you're talking about rings, or you're talking about people? What are you guys?
The wraiths.
The Black Riders are the ring wraiths. So whenever we say ring wraith or Black Rider,
all right, I'm just gonna.
They're all the same.
Or Nazgul, which we won't say.
Yeah, we won't say that.
We're talking about these Black Riders that are chasing them as being 9 total, but 5, and sometimes only 2, but it's all interchangeable. Black Riders, ring wraiths, etc.
Again, we're gonna movies versus books. We won't get there yet. Maybe the next chapter. But yeah, I don't know how many arrive at the river versus not. I thought it was 5. There's 5 of them at Withertop, not all 9 of them. I'm pretty sure about that one. Maybe there's only 3 too, because I think they break off. But it does seem too like they are more plotting and sinister. Like they're figuring things out rather than like.
There's 5 at Withertop, but then there's 3 at the. What's his name? Fatty's, yeah. So that could be the 9.
There you go.
Right.
That's where the other 3
nailed
were.
it. And then there's one lone one just.
They all planned at the same time.
Love that.
To ambush all possible ring bearers.
So true.
Yeah. Anybody who could potentially be a ring bearer, let's take them out.
It said that there was no sign of another living thing except some birds and except one fox. So I'm going to have a fox theory that's going to keep going because we know foxes can think and register hobbits. So anyways.
That's what it said. The birds are spies.
Birds aren't to be trusted.
And then there's like worse spies than that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Who are the worst spies? I know. I love that. Do you think Fatty Bulger is dead?
No. I don't think he's dead.
Okay.
Wouldn't surprise me if he was, though.
Yeah. I hope he's not.
I would be surprised if he was dead.
You'd be surprised if he was dead. All right.
I feel like he's... Because that's when they all like alerted the whole town that...
Yeah.
I feel like he survived that. Because I thought they just fled after they heard the horns blowing. So I feel like he's just
you're
hiding.
right. Because it said that they ran down the gate people. Does that mean they killed the gate people on the way out?
But he seemed... Yeah, maybe. I don't know.
So that would mean he kind of survived that.
I would think he's just going to be like in hiding now. Or maybe not. Maybe now that they know he doesn't have it, now he's...
Then he's safe?
Yeah.
That could be.
But I don't know. To me, the depiction is like he runs away to this house and then turns around and is saying like, oh, I don't have it. Meaning like there is probably someone chasing him, maybe with a sword on him. And he says, I don't have it. And they just dispose of him right there.
Because it was to one of them that he was saying it as he landed at the house.
But maybe he got inside and they didn't want to go inside because they didn't have a
wall. Protective measure to just yell, I don't have it.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. But yeah, so maybe this is a discussion of what character qualities the wraiths have. Would they show compassion in any sense like that? I don't think so, but maybe they would.
Yeah, the way it says it there, it was sometime before anyone could make out what he was babbling about. So he's like talking to other local people, and then they get the idea that there were enemies, some strange invasion from the old forest. Then they lost no more time. They blew the horn. So it felt like he made it to other people and he was safe. And then they were like, all right, let's get these dudes out of here. Also kind of felt like they were a little ready to fight. They were like, oh yeah, is it battle time? We're doing this. Which was kind of surprising.
Yeah. Jen, did the wraiths look in your head like they do in the image that you saw?
They're scarier in the
okay,
pictures.
There's not scary in your head, yeah. Painting a dark picture
But
in your head.
now I know what they look like. I remember, but it's funny since I've seen the movies, a lot of people have dressed up as them, and I didn't know what that was until now. I was like, that's a creepy.
That's a creepy
intense
thing to dress
costume.
up as.
Yeah.
You get 9 friends and you can dress up as a bunch of wraiths.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Do they kill people though?
Or are they only looking
Yeah.
for the ring?
I was not under the impression that they were like gonna kill anyone. I mean, well, maybe that's a crazy statement, but I don't know. Like, do they just want the ring and then they'll leave?
Or are they killing
Because there's like
people in
really
their
no
path?
way of knowing
Hmm.
if they actually do want to kill. Because they
Yeah,
didn't
it's
kill
true.
Frodo, but
Yeah,
are
they
they
seem to wanna
aiming to
poison.
kill? Like,
point.
I think... Oh, that's a good-
Because the blade that he was stabbed with was going to turn him into a wraith like them. Correct?
I don't know.
Wow, then that's
Was
some
that a thing
foreshadowing.
already?
Because earlier in the
Spoiler?
chapter, he says he's getting thin, and it will go on indefinitely, or I shall become a wraith.
Yeah.
That's
so, wow,
one
by
thing
the
I
end of the
like
chapter,
about book Aragorn is he's like, stop joking around about it. He's
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
don't
yeah.
say that.
Yep.
I think that's fun. Because in the movie, he's
fear
like a
of the
little
name.
more cocky about it, I think.
So
Yeah.
true.
Fully agreed.
yeah.
Hmm.
But it is weird that it feels like...
Wait, didn't
The
he have a
name
dream?
power is
What was
real.
it? Remember the dream Frodo had? Like,
Yeah, which one?
oh, I
Yeah.
thought he just had one.
Yeah.
But it
No,
was.
he had 3 at least.
Oh.
So which one?
Danny has a dream contest.
Well, you can read my
Encyclopedia.
mind then, because I only remember one.
So
And
describe
we
it.
Talked about it. I don't know about him dying or something. It was like foreshadowing something.
About Frodo dying. Because I don't remember the specific dreams, except the one felt like it was Gandalf on top of a tower. And then there was one
The one we
with
discussed for like a while.
the ocean. Oh, I feel like we discussed them all.
Okay, never mind. Just kidding. Keep
Frodo
going.
dying. Well, it could have been this that he was seeing. Getting a little mini prophecy about it.
Mm.
Also in the movies, it was at the top of Weathertop.
Yeah.
So it does feel funny now. It just feels like they're just like down by a
Yeah.
creek. So a little less
Dramatic.
dramatic.
But it's good. More realistic, I guess. It is interesting too. How much time passes between when Frodo puts the ring on and between when he gets stabbed? Because that was a weird section. I couldn't quite figure that out in the books. Like it almost seemed like he like sees this wraith from a distance. He puts the ring on and he's like right next to it.
That's exactly how I read it. It was almost like
Yeah.
he just like boom, just
Yeah.
shot
A
across the
magnet.
river, and then the other guys didn't even see him move.
Yeah, they couldn't
He was
find
just
him,
like
yeah.
boom. He just flew across in a mist or whatever.
Wait, who flew across?
One of these
Frodo.
ring wraiths.
Yeah, okay.
It
So
felt like
to me, it's like a Dementor. Like all of a sudden,
Yeah, it's true.
yeah, but it felt like it was like the other hobbits didn't even notice. They just felt maybe Dementor
Yeah.
vibes of like
Yeah,
something
probably.
dark just approached, but we didn't see
That's
anything.
a scene in the movie though, because I thought I remembered that. No?
Yeah, it's like a legendary scene too, because like the wraith takes out his sword and like does a walk and looks like, you know, Snape with his like cloak billowing, and then he stabs Frodo, and then Frodo takes off the ring and starts screaming. But it's like, it's still dramatic, but it's like less mystical than this.
Yeah, they
'Cause-
feel so physical.
Yeah,
Like you
Yep.
can fight them. You can use your
Yeah.
swords. It feels like a battle. But in this, it was like, it feels like they couldn't have done anything without fire. But in the movies, it feels like Aragorn comes out with his sword and a torch and they're battling.
yeah. But at the same point, like again, the movies, like the movies are never gonna, you know, match up perfectly to the books, but the movies do have a good depiction of how they are both human and not.
Yeah.
Because Aragorn throws a flaming torch through one of their heads.
Yeah.
And like it just goes right through. You're
Yep.
like, okay, they're definitely not human. They're not like physical in any way. So, like this, again, I like the book's depiction because it's not giving me a better understanding of it, but it's like painting a different picture in my mind of it, which is like helping me see it for the first time again. Because I just don't know like the magical aspect of this story yet. Like, did Frodo really get transported across time? Did time freeze when he put on the ring and the wraith stabbed him? Like, there's like a lot of random questions I have about like the.
But did he disappear to his friends and then?
I think so.
I think so.
They didn't see the ring.
I got the impression he was like behind them and they didn't really notice what he was doing.
Yeah.
And it all happened really quick.
Oh.
But I'm not sure.
I don't know if the audiobook's really working for me.
But this, honestly, this all happens really fast. So I feel like it's supposed to be a bit of a blur.
Yeah.
And just like they barely know what happened. And then you're catching up after the battle.
Yeah.
And then Aragorn comes back and then they explain it. They're like, oh, what's going on? Oh, no.
And Nemo is giving us consolation. He says, there's too much in the books to keep count of on a first read, so don't worry. Which is kind of true. I'm even like reading this pretty diligently. I'm like, there's way more. Like, this isn't just like a story. It's like, I feel like every paragraph has like an added story attached to it.
Yep.
And it can be a little overwhelming.
I'm tuning in and out of it also because some parts are boring for me. So
Yep.
That's not helping.
It's fair.
And then the action happens and I'm like, oh yeah, okay. Focus.
Let me get back in.
Do not speak that name so loudly. Can't even say Mordor around here?
Yeah.
Wow, there's a lot of parallels between Harry Potter's.
Isn't that a whole thing that she ripped off the Lord of the Rings for everything?
Some of
Harry
it.
Potter.
Could be.
I think some of it. I don't think everything. I think obviously she had differences. But yeah, a lot of people talk about how she ripped off certain things. Which I mean, like, you know, good artist copy,
there's
great
nothing
artist
new
steal.
under the sun, right?
Exactly. What did you guys think about the Baron and Tanivial story, or the other way to say it, Luthen, I think is the same name? That one lost me a little bit. There was so much information in that I got lost.
Yeah, I think I gave up.
Yeah, like he's telling this tale, and I'm like, he's telling their whole life story, and I felt a little overwhelmed at that one. Because in the movies, I think the most important thing, which I was talking to Nemo about this. I think this is the one section in the movies where it's in the extended edition, when they're in the bog, Aragorn comes back with that deer, and then he's singing the song in Elvish, and then Frodo goes, "You're singing the song about a woman," or something like that, or something. He says something, and he goes, "Yeah, I'm singing of this woman who gave her love to a mortal man." And it's supposed to be like, I guess it's supposed to be like a microcosm of his and Arwen's relationship.
Right.
In the movies especially. But I'm curious what else is going to be attached to that in the books. Because I think there's like maybe more to that. But maybe I'm wrong.
Well, and it's funny that our question in the last chunk was, how come Elrond is half elven? And now we have our answer. Yeah. That he was Elrond of Rivendell is of that kin.
Mm-hmm. And I'm curious too, because there's like high elves and I guess not high elves, low elves or something like that. Because we have what was his name? Glorfindel, yeah. Who comes in the next chapter and like rescues them. But like, elves are weird to me. Because I was trying to get a different depiction of who they are in my mind. Because like in the movies, they're like too high and mighty for everyone else. And even in the show, they're like too high and mighty for everyone else. And then when we met the first, what was the first elf's name? Why can't I think of it? They met him in the woods.
It was another G.
Elf names are not my
Gildor.
Yeah.
Gildor, I think.
Something like that, yeah.
He seemed a bit more down to earth, and even though he was like kind of ethereal and like wasn't giving them perfect answers, he seemed like a normal dude, which I loved.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, elves are like more normal than they are ethereal. And then all of a sudden Glorfindel comes in and he's like this grand sweeping person who's like blonde and is like way higher and mightier than everyone else. And I'm like, oh gosh, here we go.
And I was like, wait, is it saying he could drive off all of the Black Riders by himself? I was like, who is this dude?
Yeah, I know.
Oh, no, what are Silmarils? Then I was like,
yeah,
Silmarils are jewels or something.
I think that
and then it was one of the three,
the highest or something,
and I was
like
like,
that.
now I feel like there's again, like you're saying, every time you get something, it's a paragraph you could have a whole story on, and then sure enough, there's a whole book about them.
Exactly. I know. That's why again, this whole series is kind of fun too, because like it's less of an it is still an encapsulated story, but there's like so much other stuff attached to this. Like I think you could tell he built out this whole world before he like really wrote Lord of the Rings. Yep. Whereas like Rowling was like, I have a good story and I'll write the story and then build out the world out after that. So like there's not like the story is more compact, I think, in that. Whereas this one, I'm like, there's you just randomly mention the Silmarils like I'm supposed to know what you're talking about.
Yep.
And I'm like, okay, got to go to the appendices and do my research with that and figure out who Beren and Luthien are and what all these poems that they're reciting, what they mean.
Yep.
There's a lot attached to it, which is fun. But then let's go to the next chapter. Unless you had anything else in chapter 11, the last one.
Nope.
Again, anytime I say that, we're all just looking at Dan. What else did you have underlined? Anything?
Nope, that's it. It's good. Nothing else important.
Yeah. So chapter 12 is Flight to the Ford. What is this chapter about?
Frodo wakes up from the stabbing, and then they have kind of a long journey to Rivendell. Mm-hmm. And Asphalloth is an asphal boss. And the river sweeps the Black Riders away. Glorfindel helps them.
Yeah, love that. Good.
So, yeah.
That was a great summary.
It was... Oh, I wrote that in the movies. They felt more tangible. And I wondered if 9 of them were here as they were fighting the crew. I couldn't remember if there were 9 in the movies, but it felt like there were. But then I thought, maybe I just don't remember. Maybe it was only 5 in the movies too. And also it felt like in the book, they just kind of faded away. They're like, all right, we did our thing. Now we're going to leave. In the movies, they felt defeated.
Yeah.
And Aragorn crushed them and they're running off. So this was a different feeling. You don't feel as victorious at the end.
Is this the Arwen scene in the movie or no?
Yeah.
Yeah, Glorfindel steals the glory in the books.
Yeah, which I guess like makes sense for the continuity of the movies, like how to introduce a new character and then they go straight into Rivendell. But I was kind of like, I don't know. I wanted it to be her in the book
show
too.
Up. Yeah, exactly.
Me too. This is one of those scenes where I think I definitively prefer the movies.
I'm watch the movies and then I'll be.
You've already watched the movies.
We can watch the first.
We essentially described every scene from the movie so far.
Yep.
It's all pictured in Jen's mind. She's like, okay.
Yeah.
This is one of those scenes where I actually much prefer the movie over the book.
Yeah.
Maybe the first one that I significantly prefer the movie over the book.
Maybe
because I just don't like Glorfindel all that much.
That's so funny.
Because he was just kind of annoying to me. Nemo talked about him being a Giga Chad.
Giga Chad Glorfindel.
Like this just like beefed up dude. So I like the introduction of Arwen that we get in the movies. I actually like how they split up and like she's a faster rider than Aragorn is. And this they like stick together. And like it even talks about how they're gonna go and he's gonna like help them along the way, but they like rest for a short period of time and they all get up and they go. I like the idea that even if they had Glorfindel come, take Frodo, and like rush Frodo, because there was like significant emergency behind this in the movies.
Oh,
Where in the books, I felt a little bit more relaxed.
So true.
Like
12 days it was taking them?
12 days, which is crazy.
Crazy.
Which maybe makes sense in that this thing is like a slow poison. It slowly transitions them into Miss Wraith, but I don't know. The movies had just immediacy to it. I guess just because the action, you have to have that in a movie. You can't have a 12-day journey to Rivendell.
That's when she's bringing Frodo, you're saying?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I do
kind of remember that. So just substitute Glorfindel with Arwen, and that's the movies.
I don't know who this guy is.
Yeah, we don't either.
In the movies? He's not in the movie?
No, this is one of those characters who's not in the movie at all.
If he is, he's not by name. Yeah, like he could be somewhere in the background. Yeah. I did think it was interesting that Aragorn is explaining the stabbing a little bit, and they find a little cloak, I think. And he says more deadly to him was the name of Elbereth. So I like that Aragorn is scared to say Mordor, but knows that good words have power as well. So it's kind of like that Voldemort thing where you don't want to speak the bad, but I like that there is power in speaking good.
Yeah.
So it brings a little more balance to that idea.
They're like manifesting right now.
Yeah. So just felt quicker in the movies, I wrote.
Yeah. Yeah, it definitely did. And again, even like the chase scene in the movies, when like the ring wraiths are chasing them, you kind of have like, again, it's more obviously more realistic in the books because like they're on this journey and the wraiths are kind of behind them. They're like tracking them, and they have to like stay ahead of them and like cover their tracks and everything like that. And I like how they finally get across the river and the wraiths finally catch up to them, and then like they get swept away. But I don't know.
They found the trolls from The Hobbit.
Yeah, I love that.
And I love that it felt so like intriguing to them all because they had heard the stories. I think it was Pippin or Merry who said they only half ever believed them. Yeah. So to see it, it was like confirming. I thought that was cool.
This to me felt like when I hate when movies do like Easter eggs for other movies that they're in, but this one like is a cool one. Like within Tolkien's writing, he's like throwing Easter eggs in there. He's like, "You guys read The Hobbit, right? You remember that scene?"
Yeah.
Nope.
Yeah.
Yeah. No.
This is one of my favorite chapters in The Hobbit. So in The Hobbit, Bilbo is with all these dwarves, and they get captured by these 3 mountain trolls, and these mountain trolls are about to cook them and eat them, and then Bilbo has this brilliant idea where he just keeps acting like a troll and like shouts out a different way to cook them because they're all debating on how they're going to cook them. They finally settle on it. They're like, okay, we're going to cook them by roasting them over the fire. And then Bilbo's like, no, you should squash us in the jelly. And the trolls get in a huge fight again. And they debate for like an hour about like how they should actually cook them. And then they, as soon as they come upon another one, Bilbo's like, no, you want to like, beat us and like scrape us like butter over bread or something like that. He says like, and he just keeps doing that until the sunlight finally comes up and trolls can't live in the sunlight. And then the sunlight turns them into rocks, and that's how they all get out of it. It's a fun chapter. It's like a great chapter. And so this is where they're coming up to that again, where they see like, oh, this, and exactly what you said. They didn't really believe Bilbo when he was telling these stories, and then they actually like have these confirmed with these trolls that are just sitting there, which I think is fun too, because I'm sure they didn't believe Bilbo on a lot of his stories, because a lot of his stories are out there. But
if this one is true, then they're like, maybe the rest are.
Yeah.
Is there a scene in the Hobbit movie where they're all in like barrels and they're like floating? Okay.
On a river.
I think that's like the only thing I remember from the movie.
Are
they leaving Rivendell?
No, they're not. They're leaving a different elven kingdom. They're leaving the kingdom of the Wood Elves in Mirkwood. And the Mirkwood elves aren't the nicest elves. I think that's actually where Legolas is
I was just going to say, he was a wood elf, right? I don't know if there are more than one.
Yeah. They're like the mean variety. They're the nasty variety.
Jen just loves making fun of this.
No, I don't know how. It's just your memory.
And I see this too as like one of those things, if you're like playing a video game, like an open world, this is definitely one of those things like, oh, you found this. And it's like, oh, you found so-and-so, the trolls of the mountain. And like, this is like and it gives you all the information about them, but it's like, one of those hidden gems in a video game.
Oh yeah. I'm loving their horse, the poor old pony from Bill Ferny, because it has an unexpected talent for picking out a path and for sparing its rider as many jolts as possible.
That's cute.
What a sweet horse.
I know, great. And I like that they were kind of suspicious of this horse as well.
Yeah,
because they thought,
like, is he gonna go back?
I know. And then all of a sudden, he turns out to be this great horse.
And it's getting stronger with each day. It's not with Bill Ferny, so they're like, "Oh, this is great."
Badly treated.
Yeah, I know.
To gain weight on this journey.
Yeah, on this journey of all places.
Because Aragorn even has that line where I think it's Aragorn where he says like, "Oh, like this horse would never want to go back. It already looks like it wants to leave this guy."
Ready for adventure.
they could trust him for that. That they're like, oh yeah, the horse isn't going to want to come back because this person treats him with like absolute crap.
I love that.
Yeah. What else do you have in chapter 12?
That Sam wrote that song, so that was cool.
Oh. Oh, wait.
At the end of the song, because Sam sings it. I don't know why. They just said it's his turn or something, so he sings it. And at the end, someone says, "Oh, where did you come by that one, Sam?" asked Pippin.
Yeah.
Then Frodo says, "It's out of his own head, of course." And then he kind of says, like, I'm learning all this stuff about Sam, that he's a conspirator and now he's a jester.
It's a freestyler.
Yeah, he's killing it.
A little cipher there. In Lizzie's mind right now, they're all gathered together, and Sam has a mic, and he's just spitting some rhymes,
dropping bars.
It just works. And once I started, I can't stop.
I love that so much.
So Frodo rode this horse by himself back to...
Yeah, they took its bags off, and then they put Frodo on it.
And then Glorfindel wasn't... Or wait, are you saying...
Staying with
their horse or once Glorfindel got...
I'm so confused.
The horse took him on the journey, and then he
just
got
Frodo.
stabbed.
So when they woke up from the end of the Prancing Pony...
I thought so.
At the end of the Prancing Pony, they woke up, and all their ponies and horses were gone. So they had to get a new one from this dumpy dude. Okay. And they were just using him as like a pack mule. I don't think they rode on him. Did they ride on him?
I don't think so.
They were just using him as a pack mule. And then when Frodo got stabbed, they were still using him as that. He was like part of the journey. And then Glorfindel came, right? And they put Frodo on the horse because he was losing even more.
I thought Frodo got on the horse and all the stuff that was on the horse got put on people's bags.
Yeah. Yep.
And then when Glorfindel came, I thought he put Frodo on the horse, and that's when the Black Riders came. And then he gave the command to the horse to just run home. And then I pictured it like Frodo just bolted on the horse, even though he kind of didn't want to, and then made it across the river and completely left everyone else in the dust. That's how I kind of read it, where everyone else was far behind.
The only thing I got confused is that he kept telling the horse to go faster, and it wasn't going faster. And then all of a sudden, there was like an elvish phrase or word, and it went even faster. Merlin. So then I was like, who said that? Did Frodo say that?
I think Glorfindel said that.
But is he on the horse with him?
No.
He's away.
Yeah, okay. That's
what I'm saying. I'm so confused.
That's actually something that I'm confused on too. At the end, when he crosses the ford, Glorfindel puts Frodo on his horse and then sends him across the ford. And then he says these words to the horse and it goes across the ford. Mm-hmm. But then does Glorfindel stay back and is he fighting the wraiths at that moment?
I thought he stayed back only because,
thought
and I'll have to reread it now, like Frodo didn't want to leave because he was saying to like them, I can't leave you guys. And they're like, to be honest, we're safer without you. And so then he's like, oh, okay, cool. I can leave. Sorry, I'm just rereading.
And then because he said he changed the stirrups to Frodo's size, that's why I was like, oh, that makes sense that Frodo is by himself on the horse. But then I was curious for this elvish, unless, what's his name?
Glorfindel?
Yeah. Does he say that phrase or word from land to the horse and then it actually takes off?
I think so.
Isn't it towards the...
It's right at the end, so that's why I'm just looking at these.
As a side note, and this is something because Sam sings his little song, the last stanza was wild.
The last stanza is wild.
Tom's leg is game since home he came, and his bootless foot is lasting lame. But Troll don't care, and he's still there. With a bone he boned from its owner. Donor. Boner.
Oh yeah.
Troll's old seat is still the same.
And
the bone he boned from its owner. What? When he was singing this song, I was like, that's a great song. And I was like, hold on. What is he singing about?
This took a weird turn, you know?
Yeah.
I wish I could spell. Oh, no, here we go. No, that's not it. It was toward the end where he says something.
Glorfindel and Strider followed as rear guard.
Then
they see a black rider.
Asphaleth.
Ride forward, ride, cried Glorfindel.
Asphaleth.
Fly, the enemy is upon us.
I like that the elves, or that the horses are elvish. That they understand the elvish tongue more than the English tongue.
Norolim, Asphaloth. And then I assume, that's ride on in Elvish. And Asphaloth must be the horse's name. Great name. Because it's capitalized. And yeah, so I took that as then he goes riding off. Like, he's gone. It sped away with Frodo on it. And then it was only Frodo, and then all the riders just followed him.
Right.
I also did want to point out that there's been a little theory bopping around on the internet that I bought into after the movies where Gandalf says, "Fly, you fools." And it is like, oh yeah, obviously find the eagles and then fly all the way. But this is the second time we see the word fly in here used as a verb to go or flee, not to literally take flight. So I'm starting to think that online theory that Gandalf was telling them to take the eagles is not true.
Oh yeah. I always
but I was
thought
like,
that line was
I was like, oh yeah,
that
that would be so cool. Oh yeah, they totally should. And then I was like, no, I don't think that's what he was telling them.
Yeah, I love that it was like people online are coming.
Oh, Lizzie just said the birds are the worst, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's true.
Or not,
Yeah.
you just said that, but in the beginning.
They could be spies, and there's worse stuff out there, you know?
I'm grasping onto all I can to stay in.
I was nervous how much power it feels like the Black Riders have over Frodo. Like, it feels like they could get him to not even want to ride.
Yeah.
And then even at the river, it felt like he had to resist, like, a lot. Where I was like, can he resist?
But isn't that the
barely.
whole point?
Yeah, but I guess I always viewed it like the ring had the power. I didn't feel like the riders did. But then in this, it feels like they kind of had more power than I thought.
But is it because he has the ring?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, maybe. But maybe I think it's just my movie mindset. In the movies, I don't get that impression. It feels like when they're around, he wants to put the ring on maybe, but not that they can make him want to slow the horse down or, like, not go across the river.
Oh, I guess because it's so far away in the movie that I'm like, this seems right, though. Like, that like any evil influence can, like, persuade him because he has the ring with him. So, like, anything that's evil can, like, kind of, like, attack him with thoughts or do, like, decisions and stuff.
It seems like the wraiths have some kind of control over the ring. Like, they're able to figure out, like, how to control it. And then the ring has some control over Frodo. So, like, if they're in close proximity, maybe through some kind of magic, they can control the ring, which then controls Frodo.
And in this case, they literally shut his mouth.
Yeah.
So we were talking about how words have power. He says by Elbereth and by Luthien.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then immediately, boom, the leader steps across and Frodo was stricken dumb. He felt his tongue cleave to his mouth.
Terrifying.
And his heart laboring. So then I'm like, oh my goodness, what? Like, this power felt like it was beyond the ring or whatever. It was like they can make him not be able to speak. So yeah.
Well, just because
and his sword broke and fell out of his hand.
Wants this ring so bad.
Yeah.
That I feel like once they know that he has it, it's like all powers are like towards him. So
yeah,
it makes sense to me. But
it does, yeah.
And I do I like what we were talking about even before with Glorfindel. Like, I love this. Like, you know, Glorfindel is kind of annoying to me. I like the idea where it's almost like a Battle of the Bastards thing, where like he sends them on his way, and Battle of the Bastards is like Game of Thrones, where it's like one guy fighting against this massive army because he's like, let me take him. And this is one of those scenes where I just imagine in my head so clearly of Glorfindel, like, last second gets off the horse, sends the horse and everyone else across the river, and like pulls out his sword, and it's like, come on, Ringwraiths, go get it. I know that's not really how it happens, but in my head I'm like, okay, that's
and
pretty,
he legit
pretty cool.
could do that.
Yeah. I kind of love that. And so this also makes me question some of this too. Maybe the elves aren't going to be that involved in this at all, but we kind of know a little bit of Elrond's power to some extent. Why doesn't someone like Elrond come and just destroy the wraiths? Like, could he do that? Do the wraiths have that? Like, do they have that much power where these people who are super powerful in this world right now can't touch them? because maybe they're just not living or dead, so they can't kill them in any way.
I thought you couldn't kill a wraith. I thought they just exist as long as Sauron is
maybe
orchestrating them.
They just have unlimited respawns. Should be just the worst.
I do view them as killable. I just don't know how.
Throw them in the
Whoa.
fire.
Yeah, that's pretty intense.
Super light.
Make it happen. Yeah. There are few even in Rivendell that can ride openly against the Nine. I guess it doesn't mean kill them, but at least scare them off. And Glorfindel, I guess, is one of them. I view Elrond as being less powerful, but more wise. So I guess I viewed him as delegating, and he's saying, "Oh, you guys are actually better at this fighting and killing stuff. I've got to stay here, be in charge. It's his house." And I guess it's a magic thing. I view that there is power in that, like staying in that land and managing things, and a man being in his own house. So I don't know. Is he more powerful? Can they be killed?
Yeah, I'm curious. We'll answer that question next time. But anything else before we do favorites?
Nope.
All right. Let's do Hot Tamale, favorite character. And do we have names for these awards yet?
The mushrooms.
The mushrooms, yeah.
Basket of
Basket of
mushrooms.
I guess
mushrooms.
the basket of mushrooms. Who's the Hot Tamale? That always stays. What was your favorite moment?
I hate this part. Let me go last.
Oh, you like going last. All right, good. I was told I have to count in my head because I can't go first. I steal all of Jen's ideas. So I just
Jen
now I
goes
just wait.
first, then you guys then.
Oh, okay, nice.
And then
cool.
I can always steal someone's answer.
Yeah,
Just
yeah,
say
nice.
ditto.
Yeah,
That's what I used to
exactly.
do.
I'm still counting in my head.
Hot
so.
tamale. Aragorn. Waiting and patient with the hobbits to like gain their trust.
Yeah.
And then the letter comes out from Gandalf, and he was and then he was able to quote some of the lines in there, but I liked that he was trying to gain their trust without dropping Gandalf's name.
Yep. A noble idea.
Favorite moment? I don't know. I like the horse scene because
Which one? Like where
at
Frodo's
the
on
end,
it? Yeah,
where they're
that's
like
cool.
running away, and it's like whatever rider or whatever I tell the horse, Ash, what's his name?
Asphaloth?
Yeah,
It'll do.
it'll do, and it'll never leave its
Oh
rider.
yeah, its rider will never fall.
fall
Yeah,
off,
that's so
and
cool.
it's the fastest horse or something like that.
I don't know.
And
I
love
do like that there's like
horses, so.
lore around these like
Yeah.
animals and
Well, in the movie when she's like whispering to the
Yeah.
horse, I'm like, oh, it's so cool.
Mm-hmm.
or the whistle for Shadowfangs.
Yeah. I'm done.
Good moment.
Yeah, I think I think my hot tamale is Aragorn. The basket of mushrooms I think belongs to Sam, just because I like the skepticism, and he seemed like not the only, but he seemed like the rational
nice, yeah.
person. Like he was just like, guys, let's slow down. Let's actually do what Gandalf wants us to do and like question things and like make sure we can actually trust these people. Like, yeah, I like his that he holds back a little bit. And then I think my favorite moment was the introduction of Aragorn, when he's just like sitting and like brewing and like his hood is covering his face and you can just barely see his eyes. Like I like love that. It was such a cool character introduction for me. I was like, oh man, this is awesome. I love this.
It's because of the movie.
Yeah, exactly. It really is because of the movie.
And
But
then you'll be like, yeah.
It was still so close to it. But yeah, having that image, yeah.
I'm driving and listening, so it's not the greatest.
Yeah, I'll say hot tamale is gonna be Glorfindel. Because I liked him and I felt relieved when he arrived.
Hot
and then
take.
I liked that he was a little bit more. Well, the fact that I didn't know he existed, and then he just shows up, and I didn't view him as a Chad. But then Basket of Mushrooms is gonna go Aragorn. He was just great through and through.
Yeah.
And favorite moment, at the end, a horse riding fast.
Whoa, you just copied all.
Which I will say too, because the audio cut out for about 15 seconds. Jen's were all those pretty much. Danny just copied Jen.
Wait, you were Glorfindel too?
Not Glorfindel.
No, not that one.
That's the only one.
Okay,
That's
nice.
fair.
Nice.
Yeah. All I heard was what I wanted to hear, which was copying.
Yeah, good horse
Wait,
moment.
what was Laura?
What, Glorfindel?
Yeah.
He was my hot tamale.
Oh, yeah, okay.
He is kind of a
but
hot
Aragorn is the favorite character. He gets the house cut basket of mushrooms.
Basket of
Nice.
mushrooms.
I like basket of mushrooms. I'm just not sold on it. I'm hoping something better comes along that we can give.
At the moment, it's a good basket of mushrooms.
Yeah, at
Maybe
the moment,
we'll do
and then
who gets the shard of Narsil?
yeah, nice.
Shard.
That
Not the
rolls
shark.
off the tongue. My favorite moment is when the Mr. Butterbur says that he has a letter from Gandalf, because I just got really excited reading that.
Ooh, yeah.
And I just liked the way that whole scene unfolded with them. Then, I just loved the letter itself, and then figuring out, is this Aragorn actually good, or do we trust him?
The mystery element to it.
So that was my favorite moment. Favorite character, I'd probably say Aragorn. And then just to be different, I'll say Hot Tamale is Sam.
Ooh.
Because he has a line where he's like, I can carry like 2 people's bags.
Yeah.
I was like,
Nice.
okay, Sam.
Respect.
Show off. But that made me laugh because I was like, what are you doing? Like, just obviously Aragorn's there. He's like, I got this.
Yeah, that is great.
Was fantastic. Well, thanks for joining us on our journey of the Fellowship of the First Time Readers. Until next time.
Yeah, you got
Nailed it.
Now, real quick, the one question that we have to answer to is, do we watch the first 1/6 of these movies? Do we watch the first part of the first movie?
At first I didn't think so, but now maybe we do.
Yeah. Because
then it breaks it up into more parts, which is nice.
And I think it would help. I think it would help you a little bit too,
Yeah.
knowing where we're coming from on some of these scenes.
long.
Yeah.
And like some of these people who we're still describing, I think it would give you those images where,
Or like the
can kind of-
names I can like keep in
Yeah.
for sure.
And the fact that I'm not reading the names is so hard because now
Yeah.
They
I
sound
can't
the same.
Yeah, and then you guys are I'm like, who's
And-
that again?
Yeah, and they're confusing anyway, so yeah.
We'll run some polls online. We'll figure it out. Maybe our
But
next
that'd
one
be
will
exciting. But we would keep reading anyway and then
I
do
think
it,
so.
or we'd pause the reading and
Maybe we'd pause because it's the end of book 1.
Cool.
Pause for like a week. Maybe next week we watch the movies, and then the week after that we pick it up.
I like it.
We'll see. We'll figure it out.
Sounds good.
We'll talk after, and we'll hammer it out. But thanks for joining us, guys. We will see you next time.
Thanks, guys. Oh, also in the movies, Merry and Pippin are comic relief the whole time. So I love seeing Merry just going for a walk.
Yeah,
You know?
same.
He's
that was a
like-
great
and-
moment.
Yeah, he's just like different.
And he was
He's so
smart too.
different.
Like what he did, like he
Yeah.
was commended by Aragorn as being very wise and smart for like
Yep.
what he did. Very brave. I'm a fan. Yeah,
Yeah. It's great seeing these new sides of characters.
I know. Agreed. It is fantastic. Alrighty.